Hello there. I'm Keel's Throne and Beatmaker, and on this episode of the Monday Mindset Podcast, we're going to be talking about gratitude. During this pandemic, most of us are probably experiencing an additional cause for self reflection, especially if you are out of work and are quarantined at home. Even more so if you are by yourself with no loved ones. Or you could have a family, but you have to be separated from them because you may be working in the medical field. Um, so, you know, it's a good time to do some reflection, some self reflection. It's a really good time. But let's not put all of our attention on our individual circle when it comes to our personal reflection, because that reflection may be in regards to our family, our friends, our loved ones, whether you're living alone or not. Now, with the climate of the world, the political atmosphere in the United States, now is the time to reflect on the level of gratitude you have for yourself and the world. As Lennon once said, I was about to say John Legend. As John Lennon once said, living is easy with eyes closed, misunderstanding all you see. I really like this lyric because it coincides with gratitude very well, in my opinion. You see, I see gratitude in this lyric because when you are not grateful for what you have and what the world has provided for you, in my mind, I view you as someone who is a complainer, an individual that lives life the hard way, does not appreciate what they already have and what the world has given them to be able to live, to thrive. Because when when you're living easy with eyes closed, you're not grateful for what the world has provided for you. And what I mean by what the world has provided for you, I mean the people who have sacrificed for us, the people who have created incredible inventions, breakthroughs in medicine, in food, being able to preserve our food, being able to eat different foods. I mean, those are things that we have to be so grateful for. But, and a lot of that isn't, and this comes, and I'm bringing this all into the American mindset. For any of my foreign listeners, you'll understand what I'm saying. That for us as Americans, we need to understand that what I mean by being grateful for the world, we need to understand and appreciate what other countries have created and provided that allow us here in the United States to thrive. We don't think about that. We don't take that into consideration. And you know, that's why I was saying earlier, put aside your inner circle. Don't worry about the other people. Think about the gratitude in yourself and the world, because you are a part of the world just as much as the world is a part of you. And when you're not grateful for what the earth has provided for you, what life has provided for you, what great inventors and authors and singers outside of America has provided for us, we, who are we as Americans then? Who are we as individuals if we can't be grateful for what the world has provided for us? Hell, majority of the medicines that we as Americans love, need, and require come from other countries. I mean, how many of medicines and vaccines have come from plants in the rainforest. I mean, aspirin is one of those. And, you know, look what's happening in the rainforest, in the Amazon rainforest. I mean, if the rainforest is gone, I'm not even thinking about the climate. I'm thinking about all the medicines. If the rainforest is gone, all the most of the medicines that we have are gone. Yeah, we could synthesize them, but then what about all the new plants that could cure new diseases, that could help fast track new medicines? I mean, it it's really incredible in this country the lack of gratitude we have for the world. I mean, I'll get into the lack of gratitude that we have within ourselves, but I really want to talk about the world right now because look at what's going on in the world right now. I mean, in regards to this pandemic, when you look at other countries who have handled this pandemic, and I'm going to bring up like I think New Zealand is a good example. Australia. I don't know if anyone's seen that recent video that was trending on Twitter of a concert. I'm not sure if it was in Australia or New Zealand. It may have most likely been in New Zealand, but New Zealand hasn't had any COVID cases, hasn't had any deaths, um, and so the reason why I'm looking at bringing up gratitude in the world is that look at how grateful, and I'm going to use New Zealand as an example. Look at the level of gratitude that they have for their people. All right? Think about that for a second. Think about the level of gratitude that they have for their people. All right? They put aside their their political views, their individual views, and they came together during a desperate, dark, and strange time. And they were able to fight this virus. They were able to combat this pandemic that is continuing to go on throughout the world because they saw the level of gratitude that the government was putting in themselves, putting in the people. I mean, all right, they were grateful for what they could do for themselves as a community, and that's why if you've seen that video of everyone dancing and close together at that concert, that's I look at that as that is the reward of having gratitude and caring for one another, for caring for the entire country, not for your inner circle, for the entire country, not for your political views or your moral views, because they put that all aside and they came together and looked at this as a moral issue to just do the right thing. And you look at that here in the United States, we have no gratitude for the country. We have no gratitude for this country. Because, this country is starting to turn into what it looked like before the revolution. Or even, where you have all these different states, but they're like different countries. The next thing everyone's gonna have different currencies again. I mean, like, we call this the United States, but like it's the United States of ungratefulness because we are so ungrateful of how of looking at how the other world, how the outside world, how other countries are trying to combat this virus. because they're grateful for their people, for their citizens. They're grateful for this, for what the citizens provide to their country, the value in their citizens, the value in their country, the value in life. And they take that mentality, apply it throughout the country in hopes to protect not only their country, but other countries, because they see the value in the other countries throughout the world. They're grateful for what the other countries on our planet have provided for them: food, entertainment, medicine, religions, you name it. And that's one of the things that boggles the mind about the United States to me. Not even the United States, but Americans. Not every American, but many Americans. We are so dependent and expect every other country, every other state to be grateful for us, to be grateful for what we provide to everyone else. I mean, all I'm seeing that we are providing right now is just dropping bombs. We're just providing, you know, body bags. I don't see what we're providing right now. What we're providing throughout this pandemic is ignorance, ineptitude, immoral behavior, tribalism, political self-sabotage, domestic terrorism. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. But you know, that to me is a level of how ungrateful the American people are for each other. How ungrateful for they are for what other countries have done to make sure that they aren't responsible for spreading this virus. I don't understand it. I wish I understood why we as Americans can't see the bigger picture. But I mean, I do know why. You know, especially when it comes to this, when it comes to gratitude, we we don't see the value in gratitude anymore. I don't know if we ever have. I'm only 29 years old. Maybe, I can answer this question when I'm 79, but I doubt it even then. I'd probably be like, I still don't even know. So for me, it's like, we should look at other countries that have done a fantastic job of combating this virus, of trying to keep it together, and we should be grateful for that. We should be grateful for what they're trying to do for the entire world, for the bigger picture. And that's kind of my whole thing about, this gratitude in the world, is that we as Americans, we need to see that and like, okay, we really need to do our part. I mean, I'm sure people have seen the, the map of the country and how bad the um the pandemic has become. How, there are just, it's widespread. The cases are rising. And I look at that and excuse me. I look at that and I get really concerned because we I get concerned because of the states that really have tried. The states that really tried their best. And, doing their best to save lives, to mitigate the spread. They did their best. And you and with and at times without any real support or help from the federal government. And and that's concerning to me because there's this level of, well, as you know, and what, regardless of your political views, if you listen to my podcast, you you have to put your political views aside and look at the level of ungratefulness that the administration and our government has shown to the American people. Put your political views aside. Put your conspiracy theories aside. Put all that aside. Just put all of that aside and think about the level of ungratefulness they have shown to the American people. Only one check. And I saw someone on Twitter. It was a representative. Um and I wish I could remember what she specifically said. Let's see if I can look it up. Apologize for the noises. Um, but I'm gonna see if I can look up what she said. But it was really striking to me because it was in perfect relation to um, how we're looking at this, how the government has been so ungrateful to what the American people have been doing and sacrificing to keep the country running. At the beginning of this pandemic, you think about, the meat workers and how many of them were dying, you know, working, still working and getting COVID and dying. And, I was listening to NPR about a story about a father who was working at a meat packaging um facility and he caught COVID and died. And then his young son, who was still in school, got a job there to help the family to keep going. The same place at where his father died, he started working. Think about that. Take a second and think about that. Think about what that means. When I hear stories like that, it makes me so frustrated and angry at how ungrateful our administration and our government has been to the American people in their handling of this pandemic. For a young kid to lose his father and then go and work at the very same place that killed his father, that provides food for the country. It- I mean, what does that mean? What does that say about us? What does that say about our level of gratitude? I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole mask thing, but I mean, that is another thing about gratitude that is so crazy to me. And yes, you can bring up how, Dr. Fauci, was saying not to wear masks. You can bring up all of that stuff. I understand. But I want you to put aside the political views, the conspiracy views, put all of that aside and just think about the fact that by wearing a mask, you save lives. And that's my whole thing about being grateful, about outside your inner circle. And outside your inner circle can mean your political circle, your moral circle. Doesn't have to just mean your friends and family. I mean, you know, I was watching an interview with a nurse talking with the reporter was talking with the nurse, and she was talking about how she would be with patients on their dying bed, on their last breaths, still not believing that they have the virus, still thinking that they'll be okay the next day. And she will ask them, "What would you like me to call your family so you can say goodbye?" And they would tell her, "Oh, no, no, I'm gonna be okay. I'll talk to them tomorrow." And there was no tomorrow. And many of these people, they didn't take the virus serious. They didn't wear the mask. And some of these people may have gotten it from family. And think about that. Think about that, because you didn't take this seriously, because you didn't wear a mask. You now may have compromised a family member and they may die because of it. Or you didn't want to wear a mask even though you may have um, pre-existing medical conditions, or maybe you have a compromised immune system. Maybe you've been smoking for 50 years, 25 years. And and that's what I mean about gratitude, is that when people put their political views first, their moral high ground, however delusional it may be, you're 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 ungrateful for everyone else in the country. You're ungrateful for your neighbors. You're ungrateful for the people whose immune systems are compromised, who have pre-existing medical conditions, who maybe can't afford insurance. You're ungrateful for the essential workers, the nurses and doctors who beg for people to just wear a mask so they don't have to keep on dealing with incidences of people dying because they didn't wear a mask, because they were gathering with groups of more than two people. That lack of ungratefulness that we have in this country for our citizens, for each other, it is scary. And it's costing lives. I mean, how do we continue to move forward as a country if we don't even see the value in other people in our own country, let alone the world, but in our own people? It's scary how we have allowed propaganda and political ideology and radical political ideology, radical religious ideologies to and mix that all up, throw in a little hint of propaganda, season that puppy real well, fry it up, grill it however you like, and you have yourself a well cooked clusterfuck of a delusional individual. Excuse my language. I'm sorry. This. I'm gonna have to make this one explicit, which I apologize. I apologize, but I mean, think about that. And I apologize if you're an individual who may have thought like this or are currently believing that. Regardless, I don't have anything against you, because what I'm trying to convey here is, think of the bigger picture. It's your choice how you want to be, how you want to view the world, politically, whatever. It's your choice. I can't I can't hate you for that. I'm not going to change you. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to open up a new perspective for you. And maybe you will make the choice to change due to what you've learned from that perspective, what you've taken away from it. That's your choice. But all I'm trying to say is that you got to think about the bigger picture. I mean, it, it, the longer we don't come together as a community, this country, the longer we will be dealing with this virus. regardless of the vaccine, regardless of whether people take it, whether they don't, whatever happens. And we have to come together as a community. And and I know we're a big country. I understand that. But I say community because I feel that community is more wholesome. It's more inviting than we have to come together as a country. We have to come together as a community because in a community, we value one another. We value each other. If we look at the United States as a country rather than a country, rather than a political country, but if we look at it as a community of ideas, of philosophies, of beliefs, of entertainment, of music, of love, a community of different ideas of love and appreciation and understanding, and a community of gratitude, how much how much more better we can thrive as people. But we have to make that choice together. We cannot make that choice through political views. We can't make that choice through our religious views. We have to make that choice through being a human choice. Because in the end, that's what we are. We're a community of humans, a community of living beings, a community of mammals. And we have to be grateful for one another. I mean, gratitude is key in the art of living. And if you're if you're quarantined and you're out of work, and I know that I know struggling financially, I'm struggling financially. We're all struggling financially. How can you be grateful at a time like this, Kios? Ooh, I apologize. Um, how can you be grateful, Kios, during a time like this? I'm sure that's what some people are wondering. Like where are you looking? Where can you find gratitude in the world? You've said all of that at the beginning, but I don't believe it. You know, where are you finding gratitude? And if you're struggling to find gratitude, if you're struggling with gratitude in the world, if you're struggling finding it in yourself, in the community, not in your inner circle, but in the community, if you're struggling to look for that gratitude within yourself, now is the perfect time to practice and hone that skill. You know, and the reason why I say that is because, like, it, many of us have to train ourselves to be grateful. It, and what I mean by that is like you could have grown up with some solid parents that have always I remember there are plenty of times where my mom would be like, you need to be more grateful. We've all had our parents say that. You need to be grateful for what you have. All right, you need to be grateful for the food on the table. You need to be grateful for the shoes on your back. The clothes, the shoes on your back, the clues. My lord, but you get what I'm saying. Um, and you may be, and maybe that lesson, and maybe you had lessons and experiences that kind of made that mentality, that value stick. And as you've gotten older, maybe you've lost a little bit of that. And you need to retrain yourself into being more grateful. Or maybe you're doing well and as you're growing, as you're getting older, you're becoming more and more grateful. And I don't mean for large things, it can be little things. We all just need to be grateful in some aspect. Because, you know, I'll, for me, I'm really grateful for the job that I have. And I'll explain why. You know, I've talked about it in previous episodes. I used to work as a paraprofessional for a number of years. I used to work mainly with kids. And, I had a lot of amazing, fantastic experiences that have helped and shaped me into the person I am today. But, I worked with certain individuals, and I had em- um, employers and coworkers who weren't grateful for the work and the effort and the gratitude I put into my job and to them. And, I dealt with a lot of bullying. I dealt with a lot of threats. Um, I dealt with a lot of toxic environments, toxic coworkers, toxic employers. And, my last job, you know, you know, when I was working as a paraprofessional school I was working at, the last, I want to say 6 to 8 months, I went in every single day and I left every single day not knowing whether or not I'd have a job. All because I stood up for myself. And I left there on my own terms. And I'm grateful for that because I made the decision for myself. I didn't allow them to take that away from me. I didn't give them that luxury or that pleasure because that's what they wanted all along. And it was the end of the school year, and that was the only legitimate reason that they had. And I made the choice for them. So I left working at the high school that I went to, that I worked at for 5 years, to work as a third shift custodian. And that job started out pretty okay. I was like, all right, it's third shift, yeah, but I don't have to work with any kids. I don't have to deal with any parents. I don't have to deal with any ungrateful um, co-workers. My employer, he seems pretty cool, laid back. Um, so, I got this job through my mom's church. So, and, you know, I may not go to or associate with her beliefs and her religion, but the people that she goes to church with are good people, most of them. um, and they helped me get this job. So I was grateful for that. And it started out going okay. Um, but then unfortunately, it ended up repeating itself and became very similar to when I was working at the high school. He became very toxic, very mean, and it turned into me going to work every day and not knowing whether or not I have a job when I wake up. Um, and this one, I I knew that he was eventually looking for a reason to fire me. He just didn't like me for whatever reason. And I saw what was coming. So, and even though I knew what was coming for months, I kept on looking for other work, and it was tough. I couldn't find anything. And I was like, well, I do like cleaning. I enjoy this. So I was like, let me, apply for more cleaning jobs. And I finally found one. I was like, all right, well, it's not too far away from me. And, I Google mapped it and I was like, all right, looks like a nice building. All right. Well, this seems a little bit more, you know, easier for me to do. I don't have, it seems more less complicated than cleaning an entire movie theater by myself. So I think I'll give this a shot. um, and I went in and I went to the interview and I got the job. So I was like, all right, I'll keep on working for the other guy. Um, it's a woman who runs this company that I currently work for. And yeah, it's third shift and then this job, it's gonna be crazy. I mean, I was already only getting like 2 to 3 hours of sleep. I can manage only getting 2 hours of sleep now. um, but he ended up firing me. On It was ridiculous. Pretty much made up a bunch of lies and used that for the basis of firing me. And you know, one thing that's really incredible about that whole scenario was, I stood up for myself in that moment when he was firing me. And I'll never forget what I said to him. I was like, and I'm not going to use his real name. So, I was like, you know what, Blue? Um, this entire time I have worked for you, you have been mean to me, you have been rude to me, you have been disrespectful to me, you have been very ungrateful for all the work and all the effort I have put in. And when my grandmother passed away, you didn't even acknowledge it. You just threatened to fire me. And, if you continue to run your business this way, you're not going to have any employees left. And for a man who prides himself on being a man of God, you act very unchristian like. And that totally, he started trying to, I pretty much put him in his place. I was calm. I looked him in the eye. I was respectful. And, you know, leaving that toxic environment and going into my new job, I'm so grateful for what he did. I'm grateful for him firing me because it was a sense of relief. He did me a favor. I was going to continue to work for this man for a couple more weeks to save up some money while work for this other company. Continue to allow myself to be in that toxic environment. So he did me a favor. And this new place where I work, they value me not only as an employee, as a coworker, but as an individual. I will never forget the first week that I was working for um, this company. There was a really bad thunderstorm, really, really bad. And my employer was texting me and calling me, checking in to make sure that I was okay, to make sure that I stay indoors in case of anything. And I was absolutely blown away and confused and shocked. I'm like, why is she like this? Why, she's like cares about me. And I was absolutely blown away because I'll tell you, my last employers that I have had, they never valued me or any of or a select few they valued. But most of us, they didn't see anything in us. They weren't grateful for the work that we put in, for the effort, for the input. So to have, an employer who would ask me, well, what do you think of this, Kios? How should we handle this, Kios? You know, especially during this pandemic, she has been incredible, incredibly grateful for her employees, checking in on us, constantly keeping us updated on on the pandemic and on the vaccines. I've never had an employer like that. And my coworkers are incredible. They care about me. They give me constructive criticism on my cleaning. I didn't get constructive criticism in my past jobs. All I got was threats. And I know there are plenty of people who are listening to this right now who can relate to many of the things I'm talking about. May not be the exact same experiences, but you can relate to a toxic work environment. And those of you who are fortunate enough to still be working but have to work from home, you're not exposed to that toxic work environment. You might be exposed to it virtually, but that's a lot easier to digest because you're not right in front of them. You're not exposed to that person or employer. And or maybe you're not exposed to as much um toxicity at the workplace because now that you're working from home and everyone is, you know, we're all screwed, so to speak, in terms of the way our administration has been providing for us. Like I was trying to say earlier, and I totally went off on a tangent, but like what I was totally saying earlier is like, putting aside your, political views and all that, we need to be grateful for the fact that, or we need to acknowledge the fact that, like, we've only been provided one stimulus check. Think about that, people. Put aside your political views, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. Think about the fact that our government, our administration, the they only see enough value in us to only give us $1,200, and that's for many Americans that's rent. That could be a car payment. That could be college, paying off your college loan. That's not going to provide food or pay the rent. Or maybe you could only pay part of the rent or part of the mortgage. And and to circle back to my gratefulness with my job is like th- I see so much value and I'm so grateful for my other coworkers and how much they care for me that I make sure that I do the best at my job and make sure that I protect myself from exposing them to anything. And I also work with elderly, so I have to make sure that I protect them. And I'm grateful for them. They care about me. They love me. They get excited when I come into work. And, you know, this is why I'm grateful for this job because this job has given me the ability to work on my passions. If it wasn't for this job, I wouldn't have been able to have finished my album. I wouldn't have been able to start this podcast. I wouldn't have been able to really start working out. I wouldn't be able to have had a little bit of savings. You know, this job has opened up so many things for Ronin Art and Business. The name of my entrepreneurial business. For me, for myself personally, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, I look forward to going to work. I don't have to worry about whether or not I'm going to have a job the next day. I don't have to worry about whether or not if I do something wrong, they're going to yell at me, berate me, harass me, bully me. I don't have to worry about that. I look forward to work. I see the value in my job. I'm grateful for my job. Not everyone has that. And we as Americans, when we go to our fast food restaurants and whatnot to the grocery stores, to the retail stores. We need to think about that. We need to provide that to our essential workers. We need to be grateful for them. So that might mean wear a mask. That might mean having to have some distance. That might mean being patient with your order if they make a mistake, if they don't have the right size. We need to be patient and grateful for them. They're still working. Think about that. And think about also the fact that some of those people are working still with COVID. You know, as Rand Paul said, we should just have the waiters keep working with COVID. I mean, I think, was it Arizona? I'm not even sure which state it was, that the cases are so bad that even the nurses and doctors that have COVID, as long as they can't transmit it, they can still work, and they don't have the symptoms, they can still work. Think about that. We have people who are working in fast food restaurants who might have COVID, who might have the flu, who might be sick, still working because they need to pay the bills. Most people are not concerned about food at this point. They're concerned about having a roof over their heads. And our government has abandoned us because they're ungrateful for us. They're ungrateful for the work. They're ungrateful for the essential workers who continue to put their lives at risk, for the nurses and doctors who die of the COVID because they don't have enough supplies, PPV, whatever they need, or the senior homes. I mean, or the think about, and someone brought this up. Think about all of the you know the you know the the the, the backwood towns in Kentucky and all the rural areas of America where they didn't get PPV for their hospitals, or they didn't get enough funding, or the reservations who haven't even gotten stimulus. We don't need to get into how ungrateful the American government is to the indigenous Americans. We don't need to get into that. We already know that. That's an ongoing genocide. That's the reality of the situations, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't think that America has committed genocide or isn't committing genocide right now, you're not really reading the history books. And that's another problem, is this lack of gratitude that we have. It's spreading, and it's costing lives. And our administration is enabling that. They're feeding the ungratefulness. They're thriving off of it. And that's why, we need to, as Americans, as individuals, we need to train ourselves in being more grateful. We need to learn from those lessons. We need to learn from what we're seeing in other countries, what we're seeing in our own country. As I told you about the nurse and these people who are dying of the virus, still not believing in it. We need to show gratitude in our nurses and doctors who still support them, who still care for them throughout that. We can't wear masks. We can't do the right things. We can't take care of ourselves, take vitamin D, take zinc, work out, eat right to the best of our ability. I'm not perfect. I last night, man, I chowed down like 8 bowls of tricks. I ain't gonna lie. But other than that, I drink water and make fruit smoothies, and I do, 40 minutes of yoga and a 40-minute workout every other day. And well, I do yoga every day, but I do the workouts every other day. It's a kettlebell workout. But anyways, regardless, I'm going off on a tangent here. But what I'm trying to say is that, I mean, those things can teach you to be more grateful, honestly, actually. If you take up a workout routine, yoga, a hobby, you'll feel more grateful in yourself, especially when you start getting better. Meditation. Meditation is a great way to learn gratitude, and you spread that gratitude. That's the problem. That's why other countries who are succeeding in combating the pandemic, the virus, they're grateful in each other as a community, and it spreads. It spreads to other people. People are learning like that. We are a living organism that evolves and learns. Or you can look at this as an AI. You can look at this as you can look at this as a virus, a virtual virus, or a living virus, whatever. But we have to evolve, and we have to be grateful of the evolution. We have to be grateful in the work that we put in ourselves, especially. We don't do that. We either beat ourselves up or we're not grateful for what we have in ourselves. Like I was saying about my job, I'm also grateful for that fact that I have a place, my own apartment, my own place. I'm grateful for that. And because I've started to be more mindful of myself and more grateful of it, I've been better at taking care of my place. I've actually been a hell of a lot better with doing the dishes because I'm starting to change my perception of the world around me and of myself, and of what I see value in and what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for I have a place, so I need to take care of it. I need to do the dishes. I need to sweep. I need to make sure I clean the shower, clean the toilet, clean the bathroom. I need a new bucket to sweep, to mop. Throw out the old one. I didn't really need to. It was fine. Actually, I don't even know. I ain't gonna get into that one. That was a crazy adventure. But anyways, like, all I'm trying to say is taking up something, you will see you'll see the value in it, and you'll be grateful for it, and it might spread to other aspects of your life. We need to start teaching that as a community. If our administration would and our government would be grateful for us, grateful for what the American people do, maybe people would respond better and work together. Maybe maybe people would stop looking at each other as red or blue, and just start looking at each other as ourselves, to see ourselves in one another, to look at someone else and be like, you know what? They may have a grandmother that's in her 80s just like I do, who can't get exposed to this. Well, I can't get exposed to this. I may not be able to ever see her, or maybe I'm her primary care provider. We have to see what we are grateful for in other people. That's how we're going to survive. That's how we're going to thrive. That's how we're going to get through this. If we see what we're grateful for in other people, man, like I said, I'm grateful for my place. I'm grateful for that I have a roof over my shoulders. So, and I take care of this place. So I am grateful for other people around me who do have a place. And because I see the value in that, I work even more hard to make sure that I keep my place, because I know there are people out there who don't. I know there are people out there right now who might be on the verge of eviction notices, who might be on the verge of foreclosures, who are going through that right now. So that makes me try to work on doing my part even more so. You know, make sure that I take care of my place. Make sure that I take care of myself. Make sure that I'm not meeting in large groups, and I make sure that I'm wearing my mask. because I'm grateful for that. I'm also grateful for my mom. My mom has pre-existing conditions. With my work, I have to make sure I wear a mask. I make sure that the people that I'm caring for put on their masks because they're elderly people and I have to look out for them as well. And my mom, I can't, go out there and meet with big groups of people and refuse not to wear my mask and refuse not to take care of myself. Because if I don't take care of myself, there's no one else that can look after my mom. And I'm grateful for so much of what my mom does for me, how much she cares for me, how much she looks out for me, how much the advice that she gives me, the amazing food that she cooks for me. And I'm so grateful for all of that it makes me work that much harder on myself to succeed that much harder in my goals, in my dreams. Because like I said, like and also you gotta think about the fact that like I'm grateful for the delivery drivers, for the employees of FedEx, for Amazon, for the medical workers. That's why I make sure I take care of myself. I was already in the hospital and during this, and I was in the COVID area because that was the only area they could have patients because that was it. Anyone who, even if you, I wasn't in there for COVID, but even if you weren't in there for COVID, you were in the COVID area. And my mom came in, putting her life at risk, knowing full well. So, and I see all of that, and it makes me, and I saw how, and when I was there, I was very grateful for the nurses. I was very kind with them, funny. I was very cooperative. I didn't make things difficult because I knew what they were going through. I was grateful for them. I'm not saying you have to think like me, but apply some of the things I've been talking about, some of the experiences I've shared, and some of the lessons that I've talked to you about, and apply it to your life. Because the reality is that we need to take more time and learn it. And it is essential. And we need to pass on this mindset, this knowledge that we've learned from the worlds, this gratitude that we've learned from the worlds, from the community that we live in. We need to take that and we need to share that with our kids. I get so scared and I think about all the kids who are being raised at homes that don't see the value in being grateful, who don't who aren't wearing a mask, who make this a political thing. I'm so scared for those kids because being what's going to happen to the world with as they get older, how they're it's scary and it's concerning to me. And how many of those kids are going to spend the rest of their lives like that? How many of those kids might get exposed to the virus because their parents are so ungrateful? And if you're one of those parents, I'm calling you out. You need to start seeing the bigger picture. And you need to start coming to the realization that it's bigger than your political views. This has nothing to do with your political views. This has to do with being a human, being alive. This is a being a living view, not a political view, a human view. This has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with being alive, that people can be alive. How many people have died that maybe shouldn't have died because we weren't grateful for what we can provide to the world, for what we can provide to them? We didn't see the value in them. We didn't see the value in working as a community. Now is not the time to think as an individual, but to behave as a community. We're all in this together, no matter the distance, no matter if you live East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, South, it doesn't matter. We're all in this together. The virus is everywhere. It does not discriminate like some people might like to believe. That's not how it works. Maybe some people, some demographics may be indiscriminately exposed to it more so due to how ungrateful our government has been in providing the necessities to to keep those demographics alive. And you know those demographics. I don't need to break it all down for you. If you're white, you know. If you're the same color as me, you know. We need to demonstrate gratitude. We really need to demonstrate gratitude to those that we are putting, to those who are putting their lives at risk for you and me. There are some out there who are putting their lives at risk more so than we are. Like I said earlier, think about the meat packers who are dying of COVID to provide us with food, with nourishment. The teachers who have died of COVID. The nurses and doctors who have died of COVID. We need to demonstrate gratitude in them by taking care of ourselves physically, by wearing a mask, by doing all the things we can to fight this virus, to combat it, to save our community, the United States of a community. I mean, this pandemic is a clear test of our resolve as individuals and as communities throughout the world. And some have succeeded in the test of their resolve, and others have failed horribly. And we have to hold ourselves accountable for that. Not only do we have to hold the government accountable, the World Health Organization, but ourselves. Did we do our part? Or were we part of the problem? How will you show your gratitude to your loved ones and neighbors? You have to ask yourself that question. Were you part of the problem, or were you helping and trying to find and aiding in trying to solve the solution? Because, you know, are you going to behave irrationally and ignorant to those in need, to those putting their lives at risk? Are you going to be ungrateful to them, to prove, to stand for your political views, to stick it to the socialists and the liberals and the Marxists and all this? Yeah, right. You're right. The doctors who are begging us, and the nurses begging us to wear our masks, to social distance, to not gather in large groups. Yeah, they're socialists, they're Marxists, they're communists. If that's how you think, that's fine. That's your choice. But put that aside and look at this from a human perspective. From a valuing life as a perspective. If you put all of that nonsense aside, you will see what's really important here. But that's your choice. Whether or not you want to believe in it, whether or not you want to act on that, that's your choice. I'm not going to change you. That's not what I'm here for. Like I said earlier, I'm here to provide perspectives. I'm here to provide examples on lessons on how to live a better life, on lessons on the art of living, lessons that I've learned. Gratitude is an important one, because without gratitude, you're going to struggle. You know, these are things we need to think about. We need to be grateful for our American citizens who are putting their lives at risk. We need to be grateful for them. Because you may think that the doctors and the nurses, they're important, but you may think that the restaurants and the cafes and the fast food people aren't important. They just are. They have bills to pay. They have families as well. They have loved ones that they care for and provide for. Just as much as the nurses and doctors, just as much as you. So we need to practice the art of gratitude. We need to learn the art of gratitude. You need to look within yourself. No one, you know, You are your best and your worst teacher. And I feel that you're the only teacher. In the end, everyone else is a guide, but you're the teacher. Everyone else is the lesson plan, the textbook. And gratitude is so important to growing as a person, because being grateful, you're grateful for living. You're grateful for the air. You're grateful for the life that you live, for the opportunities that you have, for the people in your life. You're grateful for the opportunities and the families and the life that other people are living. You're grateful for what they provide to you, because we're all in this together. But that choice is up to you, whether or not you want to see the bigger picture. Like I always say, live life as a lesson learned. And I've always choose to see the bigger picture. I always tell myself it's bigger than me, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I put value in the bigger picture, in the larger world, because I know that will help me guide my spirit, guide my goals, my dreams, my journey. We're all on our own hero's journey, our own heroine's journey. We're all on it. And right now, as a community, we're in the abyss. And we will continue to stay in the abyss unless we decide to work together. And I'll say this one more time. Gratitude is key in the art of living. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Monday Mindset. To learn more about myself and how you can support The Monday Mindset, head over to my Patreon page at Ronin Art and Music. That's Ronin Art and Music. If you're listening to this on your preferred streaming service, please make sure to subscribe. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and review. Slap that notification bell. On iTunes, please make sure to subscribe, rate the podcast, and leave a review, as this will help me and the podcast grow. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.